Good morning to everyone. I guess more of a late winter morning today than we've had a lot of this last several weeks here. But again, the long and the short of it here, we'll talk about some changes that are probably not far off on the horizon. I can get to. Well, looking at the last week, as most everybody appreciates, we've had a fairly major change in our weather. And on the left-hand side here, we've got mean temperatures over the last week relative to normal. And there haven't been many of these in the recent past, but the greens there all suggest or indicate below normal or cooler than normal weather. And again, there hasn't been a whole lot of that. And following up on Ian's presentation here, because we have had a record mild winter, there have been, well, the soil, at least the temperature dynamics have been different this year. Also much below normal snowfall. That's a big factor with our soil temperatures during the winter. But the bottom line is that at least the depth of the frost, and we're thinking about the freeze-thaw cycles in the soil here, have been different this year than they typically are. We've had a lot more freeze-thaw cycles, and just because of the very, very mild weather that we've had. That said, and looking at the last week to 10 days, we have been actually running colder or cooler than normal. Most of the state here, you can see somewhere between 3 to 4 to as much as 8 degrees Fahrenheit below normal for the last week. And again, that has been more the exception rather than the rule this winter. So a cooler than normal week. More of that to come here really for the next week, but then changes, as we will see in the forecast. On the right-hand side, it was also an active weather week in terms of precipitation. These are the totals for the week, and they range from, well, less than half an inch in a couple areas, southern and eastern lower Michigan, to more than 2 inches in the far north. That's much above normal. And actually, in this case, it's probably, again, thinking about Ian's comments and our spring challenges with moisture and soil conditions. In this case, at least for the northern part of the state that is abnormally dry, we got some recharge out of this precipitation. A lot of that, of course, was in frozen form or in snowfall, but which is even better because it's more controlled release when it does melt. But a very, very wet week for certainly for portions of the Upper Peninsula, and really above normal for a lot of the state in general, with a couple of exceptions. Our degree day totals, given the colder than normal week, haven't moved very much, but we did have here over the last, and especially in the southern part of the state, we did have some mild weather on both Tuesday and Wednesday before a big cold front went through. But still, we have tailed off. We're still above normal for the season here this year, but much less so, or significantly less so than we were 2 weeks ago when we were way ahead. You can see from the map here from EnviroWeather, our totals, these are base 50 from the beginning of March, that the largest totals, the greatest totals across the South, which was we expect, but especially in the southwestern part of lower Michigan, and that's where we have the most advanced phenology here with regard to our overwintering crops. But I think the big note, we're still ahead of normal quite a bit, but not as much as we were earlier in the season because of the cold temps. Okay, let's look at the outlook here. Our weather map this morning here, high pressure across much of the central U.S. There's one big exception, and that is you can almost, well, you can't quite see it here at the top of our map up in northern Ontario. Big area of low pressure. That's the one that's brought all of the active weather here over the last 48 hours. A couple of troughs moving through the flow there. There's a big upper trough there, all associated with the same thing, and a big change in our weather, of course, to colder conditions. But the exception here today, and you can see a little bit of this on the lower left-hand side with the radar, we do have some snow shower activity. Being enhanced by the lakes, which are still abnormally warm for this time of the year. So most of the state here, we've got a pretty sort of a cold start of the day, but at least fewer clouds than we've had over the last few days. The exception, though, western and northern upper Michigan, where we still have snow showers, and we'll continue to have snow showers, again, with some lake enhancement during the day today. So while most of the state is going to be looking at actually a fairly nice day with mostly sunny skies for a change, we will see still winter continuing in the Upper Peninsula with snow showers and significant accumulations. On the Keweenaw, we may see in some areas probably more than 6 or 7 inches of additional snowfall here today. High temperatures today, probably the coldest of the upcoming week, ranging from the upper 20s and low 30s north to the upper 30s to low 40s across the south. But we will see warming after today. Here's tomorrow, our weather map, more high pressure tomorrow. You can note that the snow showers in the north have finally come to an end. So tomorrow, again, Friday, we will be expecting fair conditions, quite a bit of sunshine and warmer temperatures. Tomorrow we'll see above freezing temperatures almost for the whole state, mid the upper 30s in the north to the low and mid 40s in the south, and probably 5 degrees better than that on Saturday. You can also, before I move to the next one, you can see the next weather system here that's going to impact Michigan off to our west, out over the northern Great Plains. That will arrive here overnight Friday into Saturday morning. And so here's the map for Saturday morning. For most of us, there are going to be two weather systems the upcoming week of consequence or to deal with in terms of precip. This is the first one. Again, the timing of this is probably the early morning hours on Saturday into the day on Saturday afternoon west, early evening probably in the east. You can see the path of the low pressure system there, right out over Lake Michigan. Looks like it's going to be right through the southern and central lower peninsula. And the colors here, because of the temperatures, there will be different forms of precipitation at this point. Rain south with a mix possible in northern lower, and then probably still snow up in the far northern part of the state in the upper peninsula. So depending on where you are, a lot of variability. Highest precipitation amounts with this system. Most areas we're expecting about a quarter of an inch of water equivalent or so, but the highest amounts will be across southern portions of the state where the moisture is a little bit better. But that's the first weather system of note. And then we move on beyond that into the weekend. Sunday, Easter Sunday here coming up. Looks like it will be somewhat partly sunny in most areas, a little bit warmer, but dry across most of the state for the day on Sunday. And then the second weather system to affect most of us moves in overnight once again into early Monday and Tuesday. This is a forecast or numerical guidance, modeled guidance here for Tuesday evening. And you can see the next system here, that 990 millibar low right over southern lower Michigan. This one will be a bit stronger than the system on Saturday. And again, overspreading from west to east, beginning early Monday and then into Tuesday. This one we could see 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch, as probably as the top end in southern parts of the state, to maybe about 1/4 to 1/2 an inch in the far north. The color differences here, again, indicating differences in forms of precip. We're expecting a little bit like here on Saturday, more rainfall in the southern part of the state and central part of the state, and then a mix far north, or even still some snow left over on Monday and Tuesday. So it again depends on location. But as I said, this system will have more in way of water equivalent with it than the first one on Saturday. So when we look at the total forecast precipitation here for the upcoming week, anything ranging from about a 1/4 to a 1/2 an inch in the far north to as much as an inch or even a better than an inch across the Indiana and Ohio lines down in the far south. So a fairly strong north to south gradient. It will be, again, an active type of weather pattern. It's associated with the jet stream flow that we have right now, which is very progressive. Lots of changes going on, but changes are in store here as we look out into the future. And I've got both the 6 to 10 and 8 to 14 day outlooks here today, because they do strongly suggest that we're going to be seeing a change, more of this cool wet pattern that we've been in recently. That's expected to continue for most of the upcoming week, and the 6 to 10 day outlook, which is what you see here, reflects that. Normal to a little bit maybe cooler than normal mean temperatures and above normal precip. That goes consistent with what you just saw with the short term. But note in the left hand side here, our jet stream pattern, we will see again, it's progressive. We're not seeing the troughs and ridges remaining the same place or staying around, hanging around. They're pretty actively moving west to east, which is many times during the transition what we see. But that's definitely true for the forecast. And so when we move to the 8 to 14 day time frame, note there's a big change here, and we've gone from troughing over central and eastern portions of North America. That trough, there's a trough now out in the west with a little bit of a ridge building out over the central and eastern part of the state. That's a pretty significant change. And note that what we see on the surface here would mean a shift back to the warmer than normal or milder than normal mean temperatures. That's in the upper right-hand side here, and as well as a normal to below normal precipitation totals across the state. So a fairly significant change is suggested here. And again, timing of this probably sometime during the first week of April, continuing on. And if you remember from last week, we talked about this a little bit. This is consistent with all of our longer lead outlooks. We've got the outlook on the top two panels here for the month. Actually, it should be the month of April. And then the next 3 month period here, both of those call for milder than normal or warmer than normal mean temperatures here as we go on to the long term, and no direction really with our precipitation totals. So again, we're thinking about a pretty major progression or change in the jet stream, and these things change, but right now there's fairly good confidence that we will be moving out of where we're at now into milder and drier, which not the worst thing we could do here for this time of the year regarding field work and people thinking about getting things going. This outlook would probably be supportive of that. So I'll wrap up here. Again, as I said, more the same in the short term with for the most of the next week, but changes then beyond that. And with that, I'll move ahead and introduce our speaker for next week, and that's our own Dennis Pennington, who's our MSU Extension wheat specialist. And Dennis is going to be with us talking about some of what we can expect here in the 2024 season. Again, that's next Thursday.